was that celebrating Hanukkah once, we had a tradition where we would make at our prison, we would make latkes for the inmates and have a Hanukkah party. And so the prison kitchen made the latkes and provided the applesauce. So they would prepare them in the kitchen. I would pick them up, and then I would go through the prison myself. I could have had other people do it, but it was quicker for me to just bring them through myself. And so I would go through the different blocks of the different
because you can walk through locked doors easier
really,
than they can.
Yeah, really quick. And otherwise, they'd get cold, and it would just take too long. So I just walked through myself. So I was pushing for Hanukkah. I was pushing the latkes on a food tray across the yard, and I was pushing them across the yard and had my hands occupied with this fairly big food cart. And all of a sudden, a skinhead comes up to me, and I had interactions, sometimes scary and sometimes not, with skinheads. But this skinhead comes up to me when I have this latke cart in front of me, and he says, "Are those the potato pancakes?" And I said, "Yeah." And I don't know what he's going to say to me now. I was worried, that he
might overturn the cart.
He was going to tip them over. He was going to spit on them. I didn't know what he was going to do. So I said, "Yeah," and
he asked for
one. And he said, "Are they good?" And I said, "I don't know. I haven't eaten them yet. We're taking them over to the yard." He goes, "Well, I made them, and I wanted to make sure that they tasted good." And so I gave him one, and part of me was like, "Did he put something in them?" Whatever, but he ate it right in front of me, so I knew at that moment that it must have been good. And he goes, "Wow, these are really good. I've never had one before. These are really great." And I said, "Listen," I said, "thank you very much." I gave him another one. I said, because there in prison, any kind of different food is
special.
Good. And so I said, "Thank you very much for making them," and I said, "Thank you for making our holiday nice." And so it was an interesting reminder of who comes together in prison, and the fact that you can't judge people by what they look like. The fact that here was a guy who was pretty scary looking, who had made latkes for us.
Do you have a particular personal spiritual practice other than the traditional liturgy and worship service that you participate in, that you practice?
One of the things that I identify with, and maybe it's because of my Hebrew name Moshe. I don't know if
I met a dog yesterday named Moses. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's my Moses. I've always been that's been my inspiration, is to be like Moses. But I like using water as a way of cleansing, and as a way of feeling spiritually alive. So I'll go into the water any temperature, any time of year. It's a very important practice. But one of the things I do every Shabbat, which I'm actually going to do in a few hours, is every Shabbat, whatever the weather, we have a small jacuzzi in the backyard. I go in every single Shabbat. Again, it doesn't matter if it's raining, it could be almost snowing. I'll go into the water, and as part of my own personal prayers, as part of my own spiritual practice, I'll go in the water. I'll submerge. I'll be completely floating in the water, and it's my own personal mikvah. It's my own personal space, and I've done that for years. I've done that.
You
for
say the
12 years.
the brachot, the blessings of a mikvah.
Yeah, I do say the traditional blessings over immersion, but for me, the prayers that I actually offer, and kind of the goal that I have of the experience, is to be able to enter a Shabbat without thinking about all the drama that I've had during the rest of the week.
So it's a way of sloughing off what happened.
Yeah, and it allows me. People ask, how do you take funerals and the tough parts of life, the tough parts of the week? How are you able to then go in and do something else? And I said, well, we have to have an ability to say, okay, that is what it is. That was the week that was, and now it's
Shabbat.
Now it's Shabbat, and so that's what I do.
Do you have a beginner's, non-threatening, low effort level spiritual practice that you could suggest to someone like that might help them relieve the logjam?
I think the easiest thing to do, and I've done this several times, is I actually give people, regardless of their background and regardless of where they are and what they've done in life, is I actually give them the 12 steps of AA. And I find that because AA was designed for people who were not necessarily affiliated or connected with a organized religious community, that it's actually that's the perfect way of allowing people to begin to have spiritual practice without having the organizational pressure. I know that there are a lot of people who don't want to come to a synagogue, who don't want to have anything to do with a formal religion and that kind of stuff, and have to pay to be a member. Whatever people have to think about, with their own personal baggage of that, that's understandable, and I know that there are people who have reasons for having those kind of feelings. The most important thing that people really do when they look at the 12 steps, or when they look at even simpler, what it was one step, it's really to have a sense of humility. It's to have a sense of and I believe this really does come from the biblical and from a Jewish perspective, is just to have that sense that we're part of something bigger. This isn't just about us, and it's that ability to put ourselves humbly before God, or before the power of the universe, to say, you know what, this is bigger than us. And that's the first step, and that's the easiest way of getting people to be able to open up to the world, to other people, and to be able to see beyond the suffering and the tragedy they may be going through in that moment.
I have two hypothetical viewers in mind. One is someone who's doing very well financially. They might be married, they might not, but their career is fine. They don't have any realistic probability of fear of financial insecurity in retirement or anything like that. And the other is someone who's struggling. Maybe they're not very educated. It's all, maybe they're serially unemployed. It's all they can do to get dinner on the table each day. Neither of these two hypothetical viewers have ever done anything for anyone other than themselves and their own narrow self-interest, including, of course, their spouse and children in their narrow self-interest. Why would they want to serve something other than their own narrow self-interest? Speak to each of them individually, please.
The thing that strikes me about this, and again, I approach it maybe from a non-theological standpoint, is that all of us are a few decisions away from finding ourselves in really, really tough places. The idea, and this is one of the things that I did learn for myself, and what I stress to people, and if I ever do write about my experiences from prison, that I would share. The idea that we would never find ourselves in that kind of situation is ridiculous. The thing you have to understand is most of us are 2 or 3 or 4 bad decisions away from being right there. That most of us are will do good things and try to do right by our family, and even if we're motivated by self-interest, we'll take care of things. But when things get tough, or if we lose our way, or if we start to make a few bad decisions, one bad decision can lead to another bad decision, or one bad situation will make us make another bad situation even worse. And so what I find is that when we reach out to other people, when we create a community, again, this is not theological, this is practical, this is what I've seen in my life, that if you reach out and help create a community of support, that community will be there for you. And don't think that you may not find yourself in need of that community. I've seen it enough in my young life to know that community may be there for you when things change, and don't think that they can't change.
So you're suggesting they see it like an insurance policy?
At the very, if somebody is, if the only thing that you can see is yourself, understand that you could be there, and it is an insurance policy. It is a way of protecting yourself. Listen, the feeling that one gets from giving back, there's no feeling like that. People who've done it know that the internal feeling of it in itself is also a self-interest. The feeling of knowing that you've done something that you didn't have to do makes you feel phenomenal. Makes me feel phenomenal. I know it makes other people feel great. But the reality is that the only way to understand of why is in the end is it necessary to, if it does come back to our own self-interest, is that it'll help ensure ourselves.
You knew that you could not fail if I were able to issue you a 100% ironclad guarantee of success on your next endeavor. What would you attempt?
I'd like to fill a vacuum which I think exists within the Jewish community, that there is not enough outreach that the Jewish community is doing currently to the non-Jewish community, to the community that is not.
What would be the point of reaching out to them? What do you hope to accomplish?
I believe, personally, that there are thousands, if not millions, of Americans that would take a lot of strength, a lot of comfort, and a lot of pride in being part of the Jewish community.
Let's pretend for a moment that all of humanity, all 7 billion of us, are going to watch this video. What would you say to us?
We've been given a big responsibility to take care of this world. It's a tremendous opportunity and responsibility, both. And we have to make sure that we do better than previous generations. We have to make sure that we help the next generation do even better, and to keep humanity moving in the right direction. I believe we're moving in the right direction, but we still have a long way to go. And I think there's great things. I wish I could come back, 1,000 years from now, 2,000 years from now, and see how humanity's progressed. But I believe that we have it within us to do some amazing things.
What's your favorite movie?
For a long time, it was like, it would always rotate between something from Monty Python. It was either like Meaning of Life, Life of Brian, Holy Grail, and even though it wasn't really Monty Python, but the same people as Brazil. Those were all. I loved everything that they did. It's changed a little bit now. So one of my favorite movies is actually Defending Your Life, which is Albert Brooks' movie about what happens after we die. That's one of my favorite movies.
Who are your heroes?
My father is one of my heroes.
Why?
Because he's always believed that, again, there's nothing that you can't do. That if you have to, you never give up. You never let the circumstances say or other people say you can't do something. You got to believe in it. So it was that inspired me and wanted me to I wanted to be that way, and I want other people to feel that way too. And he always told me again that you've got to do better. Our generation did okay, but you can even do better. And that idea, that freedom, that we can do better, that there was an ability to be even better, was something that always inspired me, and I always wanted to live up to that challenge.
Who else?
I would say Einstein's always inspired me because
You talked about him already.
Because of everything that he's done. I would say one of the inspirations that I had, again, probably because I was named after him, was Moses. Moses' commitment to leadership and to leading even when it was difficult, even when he wanted to give up. I've been lucky. I haven't had those moments, and I know that some rabbis have had those moments where they, you just want to throw in the towel and be done. Fortunately, I haven't had those yet. But Moses has those, and yet he continues on.
What have I neglected to ask you about your personal life, your philosophy, your commitment to service that bears mentioning at this point?
I think every one of the people that I mentioned were my role models. In some ways, had challenges balancing their family life and their work, and I believe that's real important for me. Is I don't want my children to feel that I've sacrificed time away from them in helping others. I didn't want them to feel that I was a great rabbi but a horrible parent. And so that's something that I've always felt. I didn't want that to be a judgment.
But you don't want to be a great parent and a horrible rabbi either.
No, I have to balance those. But I felt it was very important for my kids to know that they're a priority, that my children to know that they're a priority for me. Theodore Herzl is another one of my role models too. Again,
Tell us who he is briefly, please.
Theodore Herzl was the first first modern Zionist, and he lived during the latter part of the 19th century. He actually was a assimilated Jew who believed, after experiencing the European anti-Semitism and seeing the full breadth of European Jewish experience, believed that the Jewish people needed a homeland in order to be a people like other people, to be a healthy people, that they needed a homeland. So his vision was a Jewish homeland, and of course, again, the idea of Zionism, the birth of modern Zionism, was his idea. Unfortunately, never got to live to see a full realization of that, and again, similar to the other people I mentioned, did not have.
Like Moses didn't get to see Israel, he didn't either.
Yeah,
he got to see Palestine, but not Israel.
He didn't get to see. He didn't have a great family life situation either, and unfortunately, his own family it was a tragic situation, but he was a role model, and again, to try to have a healthier life. But it's very hard because people who are passionate oftentimes they don't see their family. They kind of see beyond their family, and they don't see their family, and that's something that I find is something I don't want to repeat, and I don't want that to be a part of the legacy that I leave behind. I don't want to leave behind a dysfunctional family that says, our father cared about everybody except for us.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Mark, for taking the time to meet with me.
Well, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you.